Thank you.
Across the rest. If your hands are not busy, please. Let's welcome our clap.
Thank you. Okay, he gave me this one. Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Are we tired? Are we tired? Well, regardless, I promise to keep this short and simple because I don't like to talk too much. Do I expect my slides to come up soon? Okay, so my name is Joy Wimu, and I was speaking on community management in Web3. Now, community, I don't know who was counting with me, but I dare say that community is one word that has been mentioned at least 50 times since this event started. Was anybody counting? I don't think so. But yeah, and that's what I'll be talking about today. We're going to be looking at what exactly these communities are, who are the community managers, and specifically how it relates to Web3. Please keep the slide on. Next slide, please. Yes, this is just a little bit about me. I'm a Meta certified community manager. I focus on, driving brand advocacy through sustainable community management, and I manage one of the largest technical talent accelerators, the 3MTT community here in Rivers State. Next slide. Yes, what is community management and who is a community manager? Next slide. So while I'm speaking, I want you to also take a look at this illustration here. So community management is the process of building, nurturing, and growing relationships among people who share a common interest or goal. I want you to keep that phrase with you, common interest or goal. Now, who is a community manager? Take a look at this illustration here. You can see products and you can see users. And what's in the middle? What do we see in the middle? A community manager. So when you hear community managers, you think of the middleman or the middlewoman, right? People who connect the products and the users, or the projects and the users, and they basically bring them together. They foster that. A community manager is one who is not just knowledgeable about the product or the technology or the project in question, is also someone who has a deep understanding of how to engage a community of users and neat adopters, because engagement is something that is key for us as community managers. Next slide, please. Now, the approach I'm taking towards this presentation is looking at community from both the business angle and the individual angle, because I understand that this is an audience that comprises of diverse people from various walks of life, and I believe we have founders here, we have community managers, we even have aspirants and enthusiasts as well. So why do business owners need to invest in communities? And I believe if you have been here from the onset of this event, you must have heard a lot of people speak about communities, how it's beneficial to them and their products, and that's what we're going to be looking at. Next slide, please. First of all, let's look at loyalty and advocacy. This is something that has been emphasized, right? When Mr. Great spoke, he talked about how community has been at the center of what they're doing at Let's Build DAO. Even Mrs. Carla, she also mentioned how they've grown the borderless community, and also what she does, right? So communities in Web3 can become your greatest advocates, because communities are not just your customers. Your community members, they are not just your customers. They are like co-owners, especially when you look at, DAOs, for example, decentralized autonomous organizations. It's the community that push these organizations, right? They are token holders, they are contributors. And when you are able to build out a, strong community that they are connected to your purpose, they are connected to what you're building, they become loyal, and they basically market your product for you even without you doing so much. That's where the loyalty and the advocacy lies. Another thing here is crowdsourcing ideas and solutions. Now, in Web3, right, community is not just consuming your product, and this is closely related to the first point, right? They help you build it. Um, Now, when you look at successful DAOs, they allow communities to vote, to propose changes, to support, let's say, features. And this is not even something that is, peculiar to just Web3. It's something that also Web2 founders and business owners also leverage communities for, right? When there are new features, where there's a need for improvement, founders, business owners, entrepreneurs, they want to know how, their users are perceiving their products, how they maybe like the features, what is it they want to change, what feature should they improve on, and things like that. And this is how, one of the reasons why, as a business owner or an entrepreneur, you should focus on, building a community. Next slide, please. Another thing is building credibility and trust. If you listen to when Mrs. Kala was talking, she spoke about, while they were starting, how she needed funding, and even without getting the funding in the initial stage, she carried on to, build her product, to have the sessions, to train people, right? And that was how she started building her community. That is closely related to building credibility and trust. Because if you're, for example, a new founder here, if you're a startup, right, you want to pitch to potential investors, you want to get funding for your product, you need to be able to show that there is some level of credibility or trust that is associated with your product. And how will people get that? Is if you have a strong, thriving community, because your community becomes your social proof, not just a form of marketing, but also showing that you have that credibility and trust around your product. Another thing is, the fourth point is scaling with the community. Now, as your community grows, so does its potential to drive further growth. Because think of it this way, your community growth is almost directly proportional to the growth of your products. Because if you're building a product, if you're shipping a product, and you're heavily invested in community, if your community is growing, if more people are adopting that product or that project, it means that you are growing as well. Your user base is growing. So while you scale, while your community scales, your business or your product is also growing with it as well, right? Communities also have like influential members known as your advocates, ambassadors, people who take on leadership roles, people who would, come up to host events or create content that would help your project scale. One thing I did notice, I want to give a shout out to the marketing or the publicity team around this event, Borderless, because I saw a lot of content, a lot of things going out, contests and whatnot. And one of them that caught my attention was the storytelling contest, where you had to talk about like your personal finance and stuff like that. That's something like that is as a result of community, right? Your community members would create content. They would you organize a contest, right? And your community would adopt that to, even ship your product, ship your community without you even lifting so much as a finger. Next slide, please. Now, what are the best practices for community managers? Now that we've looked at, the business angle, why do you as a business owner, invest in community? Let's look at it from the individual side of things. What are some of the best practices that a community manager should take while, building a community, while managing a community? And this is also beneficial to, aspirants or enthusiasts in the space. First of all, open and consistent communication. I don't know if this image here is clear, but this screenshot is a case study from a community where people are asking about the project, right? Someone is asking, oh, can we get any updates of this project? This chat is so dead. Can we get some announcements, right? This is one of the don'ts of a community, right? Your community should never get to this point where people are asking, where people are looking for information, where people are are concerned that they're not hearing from the project coordinators or the founders or things like that, it should never get to this point. Because as a community manager, or as one who is looking forward to becoming a community manager, one thing that you should foster, one thing that should be on your fingertips, on your mind, is open and consistent communication. You need to be able to listen. You need to be able to listen to your community members. What are they saying, right? Whether it is feedback on the product, whether it is features, concerns about the project, or ideas for improvement, you need to actively listen and be able to respond appropriately. Next slide, please. Another thing is managing conflicts and misunderstandings, right? I have also been mentoring people for a while now, and one of the most frequently asked questions or statements people make is that, oh, how can I be a community manager and not, tend to conflicts, right? I just want day. I don't want to, resolve anybody's fights or conflicts or things like that. But it's almost impossible, because as a community manager managing a community, there would always be conflicts, especially if people are passionate about what you're doing, about the community. Please put the slide up, right? With passionate communities comes conflicts, and as a community manager, you have to be able to stay calm and mediate when necessary. Again, take your mind back to the initial definition of who a community manager is. We are like, community managers are the middlewoman, right? However the case may be. You have to be able to come in, right? You have to be transparent. Where there is a misunderstanding or where there is a conflict, you need to be able to explain the reason. If you're taking a decision to maybe met out some form of punishment to a community member, you need to be able to be transparent to explain, okay, this is what you did, this is how it doesn't align to the community purpose or goals here, and this is why we're taking this action. Another point there is building your network. That's arguably another word that has been said numerous times right here in this event, aside from community. A lot of people have mentioned network, right? And cliche, but your network is your net worth, right? So you need to be able to build your network as a community manager. And for everyone who's here at this event, you're already, in that direction to building your network, because how do you build your network is by, attending events, connecting with people, whether online or offline, right? You need to get to know more people in the Web3 community, including other community managers, developers, investors, attend events, meetups, and connect with people, basically. Next slide, please. Okay, this is supposed to be a gift, but I'm not sure why it's not playing. Now, the fourth point here is keeping up with the rapidly changing technology. And one thing that is common, right, in this space is that things are evolving on a daily basis, right? There's always one new project, one new technology, in fact, in the tech ecosystem in general, right? There are always new things coming up. And as a community manager, you need to be able to keep up with this ever-evolving technology. You need to stay up to date with technologies, trends, and best practices. And this GIF was going to show, it was like a GIF, basically. So it was going to show like how little, so there's a red ball in the middle that shows like things you know, and then it shrinks down to show how small the things you know compared to other things you do not know. And you would not know that the margin is that large if you don't come out from your comfort zone to experience new things. Next slide, and this is my final point. Try new things. Now, best practices can be helpful. I can stand here from till the end of this event to say, okay, this is what you should do, this is what you should not do, and the likes. But then the greatest success you would achieve in managing a community is anti-playbook. And this is because you need to be able to experiment, you need to be able to be unique. There are no two communities that are the same. What works for community A would likely not work for community B. So you need to be strategic. You need to understand your community. You need to know, it also goes back to what I said about listening. You need to be able to understand what your community members want how it aligns to the project or the product or the technology, right? And putting all of these things together, it would help you as a community manager or as one who is aspiring to become a community manager to, merge all of this feedback together and come up with strategies that will keep your community engaged. And yes, I said this is my last point, but I just want to add in something bonus based of the question that I have been asked in this event by a couple of people. Someone might want to ask, oh, how do I get community jobs, right, related to community? First of all, you have to put all of these things in practice, because if you're looking forward to landing a job in community management, you need to embody all of these characteristics and traits. But then to get a job, you have to also be able to network, right? Aside the whole traditional or regular way of seeing a job ad, applying, submitting your CV, ensuring it's on point and all of that. There are founders in here, right? There are projects, coordinators, people in charge of projects, people who are even looking forward to maybe launching one in a few days or a few weeks. You need to be able to strike up that conversation. It was also mentioned here that if you're shy in real life, you shouldn't be shy on social media, because that is your social proof, right? Also do well to volunteer your services. Also do well to, or you find like a project that aligns with something that interests you, to your passion. You should be able to, you can feel free to hop on maybe contests, right? Follow founders, follow people, active people in the space, right? So that when these things even go up, when opportunities go up, you would see them, and of course, join communities. And lastly, what's the key takeaway from this session? Next slide, please. Now, communities often thrive, but they can also fail because of the various reasons. You need to be able to study other communities, like I've said, see what's working for them, learn from their successes or failures, and this would help you as a business or as a community manager to avoid similar mistakes. And I'm sure people in crypto, you can definitely relate to this image here. So thank you so much for listening. That brings me to the end. I'll take any questions if there are any. Thank you.
So, thank you very much. So,
Thank you. Thank you. So cool.
just
Thank you so much.
and I'll answer them. First, GM, everyone. He's the ambassador for Falcon here in Nigeria that spoke to us. I would like to follow you on X. Hope you don't mind dropping your X handle. It's not again. But his handle is at Chukwuemeka, just checking at Chukwuemeka. Another question: is there a team for